Oh, what a lovely day. Hi guys, Freaky Fish Guy here with another video for you today. You have to excuse the stark lighting, it is winter and the sun is literally outside my door, blazing a supernova into my bedroom every single afternoon. And it increases the brightness as I say that. It is the festive season. I haven't uploaded in a while. I am wearing my Christmas jumper, not you can see that. And last night we had our charity event at Locals. 30 people attended. It's an event where you have to bring food cans. I do agree it's a great event that Konami puts through, and thank you for my Locals for running one. However, I was the problem in the room. I woke up on a lovely crisp winter Christmassy morning and decided to play Stun. That's me. Very simply, I was kind of inspired by a friend Yuri who played this at a YCS event a couple of months ago. He played a very different build because it was basically tier 0 tier format at the time. Obviously now Yugioh tier is still the best deck probably in the format, but we've got things like Kashtira maybe rearing its head. People are still playing Flunder, people are playing things like Sprite, Runic, etc. And the new Dark World structure deck just came out, which a few people at my Locals are messing around with. For me, this was a one-off. I got bored of playing Sprite and Draco, and I wanted to play something memey as such, and my level of meme involves playing a Floodgate. I went X1, I came 9th out of 30 people, so I'll see that somewhat as a success. I did surprise a few people what I was playing, and a lot of them were like, this seems like a bad deck. And it is a really bad deck. Normal summon the Spectre board and hoping it sticks is not a great format idea thing when people are running things like droplets and Dark Ruler no more on the side and things like that. So anyway, we'll get into a deck profile. It is interesting. It's not the normal version of Stun. I do want to point out, I probably should have said that before people, clicked off of it. It is my interpretation of Stun. It plays some wacky cards, and we'll just get into the profile. So main deck wise, obviously we are playing 3 Inspector Border. This is like the mainstay of most Stun builds for those who don't know what it does. While there's no Link, XYZ, Synchro, Fusion, Ritual, etc. on the board, neither player can activate monster effects anywhere. If there's one of those types, you can use one. If there's 2 of those types, you can use 2. So 1 Link, 1 Synchro. The cool thing about this card is obviously it's 2k, 2k, so normally you just normal summon this, and then your opponent has to climb uphill to try and beat it, because there's not many normal summons that can beat over 2k. Obviously, if they have ways of making something bigger without using effects, that could be a problem. It's a pretty auto-include for most Stun decks. It's a pretty fun card, in my opinion, just because of the amount of people that need to read it. Following up, we're playing 3 Dragon. Coming back from the Spellbook days, this one's a little bit different. It's similar sort of shape idea to Inspector Board. It has a Floodgate effect. Whilst on the board, either player can special summon. This does impact me a little bit, but the idea is that it impacts the opponent more, so I don't really care. You can also use the effect to discard 1 random card from your hand, that's the important part, to regeki your opponent's board of all special summon monsters. In theory, in theory, this is a fun bit. In theory, if you bait the crime, this outs an entire tier board by itself, as long as you bait the crime first, which is kind of nice. Then following up, we've got 2 Ecclesia, Dogmatic Ecclesia. When it's summoned, add a Dogmatic card, pretty simple. There are reasons that we're playing these monsters. We're not playing the dinosaur, the Stun Dino. I can never say its name correctly. We're also not playing things like Banisher of the Radiance or whatever it is. The only hand trap we are playing 3 Dimension Shifter. This card is nuts. It's the best hand trap in the game. And then 1 BLS. Why? Because we're going to talk about that in a minute. But yeah, we're playing 1 BLS because it is also a boss monster randomly, because you're playing obviously Dogma stuff, but it is also a cool card of something later on. 2 Pros because I only own 2, and 3 Duality. You're not really special summoning this deck, you're just trying to dig for those cards that you need to grab. 3 Nadir, because this card is good and it's at 3 again. Also, this card is insane when you actually think about it. It's kind of weird that Dogmatica has fallen out of the format so much, but obviously this is so much plus. So you send this, so you activate this, send Titanic-clad, add Ecclesia, summon Ecclesia, add the trap, and then the end phase Titanic-clad adds another one. So this card is like a +2 because it gets you 3 cards in theory. Or it could be a removal. 3 Small World. This is where the big brain part of my deck came up. So I was like, I want to play Shifter, but Shifter can sometimes be a brick. You draw it after like turn 1, or you have things engraved and stuff, and Shifter then becomes a problem. So how do we get rid of the Shifter? Well, you can go Small World Shifter into Jalgan, because they are both spellcasters. And then because Jalgan is light, you can go into Inspector Border. So if you open Shifter and you need to get to your Inspector Border, then you can do this to get to your Inspector Border, which I think is kind of hot. Other things you can do, if you have a Ecclesia, you can go Ecclesia into BLS, because they're light, and then into Inspector Border that way. You can alternatively go into a Jalgan, because they're both light. If you have an Inspector Border and you want to get to a Jalgan, you can do the same thing with BLS. So the reasoning behind Small World is if I have a monster that isn't going to help me in this exact scenario, so like a Shifter or a Jalgan, and I need to have an Inspector Border, I can get to the Inspector Border that way. There are a few cards in my deck that I'm playing in case I lose a die roll, and so being able to search Inspector Border, which obviously stops my opponent's negates most of the time, is really, really nice. So that's Small World. We're playing 2 Regeki. I couldn't find a third one in time. The idea being that, yes, you normal summon Inspector Border, Regeki their board, and hope that they can't stop it. Alternatively, yes, sometimes you lose the die roll, which is obviously another reason. Purple cards, please please forgive me for all my purple cards. Playing 3 Judgment, 3 Strike, 3 Compulse, and then 3 Crackdown. Obviously, these cards are pretty standard in a stun deck. Compulse is there just to remove problem cards, so you compulse something back to the extra deck. It's kind of hot. Crackdown is really, really good. Also, yeah, so Compulse is also there for the tier matchup. So if I compulse something like a Kick Coloss, yes, they can make it again, but it stops it from going to the grave, so you don't get the mill 5, which is nice. Crackdown is I want to steal your opponent's monster. There are things we can do with this, but it's basically another card that doesn't really have a downside, that lets me remove stuff from my opponent. The other idea was Ice Dragon's Prison, but there needs to be set up for that, and obviously I want to protect my Jalgan on my Inspector Border, so I normal my border and I set these, and if they just normal summon something, they're not going to have anything in grave to use Ice Dragon Prison on. So the Crackdown and Compulse protects my normal summons, realistically well. Then we're going to play 1 Punishment, because this is the Ecclesia target. We're not playing Fleur. I wish now I did play Fleur, because it's another Small World bridge. You can do Fleur. You can do some wacky things. You can do like Inspector Border into Fleur, because they're both light. And then I think you could do that. Maybe, I don't know if Fleur's 2k defense. I might have to look that up. But you can Small World using Fleur as a bridge into a level 8 monster we're playing in this side deck. And then the last 3 cards in the main are 3 evenly matched, because again, sometimes we lose the die roll. And it was really, really nice seeing those off of a Prosp going second. Extra deck, we're playing 1 Barricade Board Blocker. The reason being it's a generic link 2, so if you crack down something, you can make this and then add back the crackdown. You can add back things like Die-Fi in the side deck. You can anti-spell. You can do loads of like stupid floodgate things with this, but it's also there for crackdown stuff. Phoenix Cerberus, because we're not realistically putting more than 2 monsters on the board at a time, so there's no reason to play things like Unicorn or Boral Sword or Access Code, so I'm just playing these to keep it simple. 2 Garura, this is for the Deer Servant to draw 1, because obviously bonus card is nice. I should have been playing Super Poly. I did speak to someone there who suggested Super Poly, and I was like, yeah, actually it would make sense. So I would potentially change this a little bit to add a Super Poly. I'm not sure what I would take out. Maybe the Crackdowns. Just because Spolly can deal with so many problems this format. 1 Entis, 1 Titanic Lad for your Dogmatica stuff. The Wind Ignista for the same thing. Now the cards we can technically summon. I'm playing Sheridan, whatever it is. Very simply, he is a rank 6 that you can make with your opponent's monsters if you steal them, and they are treated as level 6. So if you crack down something, you can treat it as level 6 to make this. In theory, you can steal something, make it level 6. Normal summon Shifter by tributing something already on your board. Overlay to this attack, make Gaia Dragon the Thunder Charger, and then make Zeus. That was the theory. It never came up, but that was the idea. Alternatively, you can also just crack down in a rank 5 or rank 6, and then make this, and then Zeus. That was, again, the theory. It never came up, but it was in there for reasons. The next four, the next four cards, three of them are just shiny. So Abyss Dweller because it's ulti, Honor Arc because it's ulti, and Utopia. I don't know why I played Utopia. It was an ulti in my binder. I thought I'd throw it in. And then finally, Chimera Tech, Mega Fleet Dragon in case I was playing up against a Cyber Dragon player, which I didn't, so there's no point in playing it. On to the side deck, we'll really fly through this. 3 anti-spell because going first, 3 die fight because going first against tier, 3 Shadow Imprisoning Mirror because going first against tier, 3 Alpha, Master of Beasts. This, in theory, should be Fenrir, however, I'm happy it's not Fenrir. So, yesterday I played against someone who summoned Dragoon. That card I've completely forgot about, and it still exists. And I was like, I don't have an out to this. Oh, I've got an Alpha, it's fine. Obviously, you just summon the Alpha, smack into the Dragoon, it outs it, which isn't a problem. He'd never seen this card before, because obviously it's not like a really well-known card anymore. It's kind of just there. But, you know, this card should, in theory, be a Fenrir if you're playing a normal event. I just don't own Fenris, so we're playing the cheap option instead. 1 Pank, and then 2 Twin Twisters, because, yes. Once again, I went X1. People were playing a variety of decks at the charity event. There were some people on, obviously, the best deck of the format. So tier, there was a Shizu tier, there was Sprite, Renix Sprite, those sort of stuff. I do want to say the thing that came first out of 30 players was Satella Knight, which I think was quite nice. And obviously, I came 9th with this. It's not the best deck. If you went to a locals with this, you could do well, depending if they're like playing a really meta format. So if you normal summon this against tier, then yay, unless they open field spell. Alternatively, if you go to like some random locals and they're playing Chainburn, you're not going to have a great time. Anyway, guys, this was my profile. I know I haven't uploaded in a while. I've been very busy. I haven't been playing that much Yu-Gi-Oh! I'll be honest. I've been playing a lot of Lord of the Rings, Warhammer, some Magic. Just having some fun, spending time with friends. I have got regionals coming up in January, so I will be back onto the competitive scene soon and trying to actually play the game properly. Stay tuned for what I'm going to play to that. It's probably not going to be what you think it is. Probably going back to some of my roots. Either way though, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you have a nice festive season, and goodbye.